All right, we'll call to order the March 18th full meeting of council. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker,
Here.
Bullock,
Here.
Keppel,
Here.
Marks, Rader,
Yep.
Schachner, Strebig. Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held March 4th, 2024.
Move to dispose of without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 1, report from Public Safety Committee meeting held today, March 18th, 2024.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Safety Committee meeting met today with one single topic, which was the ordinance to amend various parts of Section 513 of Lakewood's criminal code related to marijuana possession, the gift of marijuana, and possession. Had a very productive conversation with the law department and Chief Prosecutor Miranda about aligning Lakewood's code with the overwhelming will of particularly Lakewood voters, but also statewide for adult use marijuana. The law department has been working diligently on preparing what is not yet a substitute ordinance to this to better align with state law. Council expressed some of our desires to move quickly in order to give our residents peace of mind, although our police aren't enforcing the laws that are on the books today about marijuana possession. That's cold comfort for folks who, now can legally do so under state law. But we also talked about the fact that there are certain parts of the state code that we'll cover, but there are provisions that may be unique to Lakewood that we have policy control over responsible adult use in Lakewood, particularly as it relates to, schools and parks and just being good neighbors. A lot of discussion about regulating marijuana like alcohol. So look forward in about 4 weeks for the administration to come forward with their final substitute ordinance. And then thinking about the portions of that ordinance that are squarely within the policy discretion of City Council administration, so we can have a fruitful discussion about it. So stay tuned from a council perspective. And that's the report for the Public Safety Committee.
Move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 2, Ordinance 40, 2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend sections 51301, definitions, 51302, gift of marijuana, and 51303, drug abuse and controlled substance possession or use of the codified ordinances, and to repeal section 51345, use or possession of marijuana paraphernalia, to make these sections consistent with chapter 3780, adult use cannabis control of the Ohio Revised Code.
Move to defer. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 3, report from Housing Planning and Development Committee regarding meeting held today, March 18th.
Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Madam President. The Housing Planning and Development Committee met tonight immediately prior to this meeting. We heard or considered the following 3 ordinances on the docket, which are 5-2024, 41-2023, and 42-2023. The latter 2 are adult use marijuana related proposed ordinances that we discussed, really the timing of, and got a little additional perspective on the discretionary decision making available to local governments such as our city under those. We also heard that the Planning Commission, which is also reviewing these 2 ordinances, received a joint referral for these 2 ordinances, has deferred those consideration of those for now because we're all awaiting the state government's further work to detail how this is all going to work. But as with the previous committee, City Council in Lakewood's interested in getting on top of and ahead of those policy developments to be positioned to provide clarity to our residents and our businesses and move in a timely manner. We're going to continue discussing these in a future meeting. The second portion of our committee hearing was on 5-2024, an ordinance to authorize and direct the Director of Planning and Development or the mayor to enter into agreement with a licensed real estate broker to market for sale various real properties owned by the city of Lakewood. We got a very helpful briefing from the planning department reviewing the details of the list of properties. We amended the proposed ordinance to accept a substitute with some corrections proposed by the administration. I think we're close to having consensus on recommending approval of the ordinance, but we're going to bring it back in 1 week's time after some further discussion of a commercial property at 1450 Bell Avenue. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Item 4, Ordinance 05-2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the Director of Planning and Development or the mayor to enter into an agreement with a licensed real estate broker to market for sale various properties pursuant to Section 15507 of the Codified Ordinances.
Move to defer. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? We do have one person signed in for public comment on this. Mr. T. Babcock, do you want to come forward and name and address for the record, please? If you push the button until it turns green, thank you.
Ted Babcock, 2078 Lark Street. I just wanted to check the address of that Clifton property. I think it was on the presentation as 12519, which would be on the other side of the street. So I just want to see if that was correct somewhere else, since the addresses aren't listed in the agenda anywhere. If we can get the correct address, public for that, I think would be helpful. It says 12518 on there. I think that's probably correct. Just the slideshow said 19, and I think that's what was said as well. So that makes sense. I would also just encourage council to seek to sell these properties to maybe some places that can be of more use to the community, as well as maybe even generate some income. I think there's some good discussion about the Bell property, and that was good to hear. I think there's some other interesting, possibilities. Councilwoman Marks, we talked about potentially a bed and breakfast, and I think that was mentioned here tonight as well. Some more places for our parents to stay when they come visit us would be nice, like a hotel or something like that. But anything that can be used to, I think, generate income for the city is always worth looking into. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to defer the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes.
Item 5, Ordinance 41-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Chapter 779 Medical Marijuana Operations of the Codified Ordinances to provide a permitting process for both medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes.
Item 6, Ordinance 42-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Schedule 112902 Permitted Uses in Commercial Districts and Chapter 1165 Medical Marijuana Dispensaries of the Codified Ordinances and to permit medical and adult use marijuana dispensaries in commercial districts.
Move to defer. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 7, Ordinance 03-2024, an ordinance authorizing a development agreement with LDC Warren Ltd. in connection with the redevelopment of certain real property in the city of Lakewood as part of a tax increment financing program under Ohio Revised Code.
Move to defer. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 8, ordinance 04-2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the City of Lakewood to accept title to certain real property located within the city and immediately transfer title back to the current owner for the purpose of implementing tax increment finance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code.
Move to defer. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 9, communication from Law Director Vargo regarding the ratification of ordinance 2024-06.
Director Vargo.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm still pulling it up. I apologize.
All right, we're moving kind of quick.
The Mayor has bailed me out. Dear Council President and members of City Council, on March 4th, 2024, City Council adopted ordinance number 2024-06, which was erroneously titled a resolution on Council's docket rather than an ordinance. Ordinance number 2024-06 provides authority for the Director of Finance to enter into lease financing agreements for designated vehicles and equipment. The body of ordinance number 2024-06 refers to the item as an ordinance, whereas Council's docket identified the item as a resolution. Because the original legislation received 2 full readings by Council as opposed to 3 as required, the attached ordinance is a safeguard measure to ratify the original legislation. To effect that ratification, I respectfully request the Council suspend the rules and adopt this ordinance on first reading. Thank you. And just let me add that this is as technical of an error as you're going to find. It is not substantive at all. You can make a pretty good argument it's not even necessary that we do this, but we have the ability to do it, so we recommend we do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we like to dot our i's and cross our t's. All right, so I will move to receive and file that communication. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 10, ordinance 06-2024, an ordinance to take effect immediately to ratify ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance to take effect immediately provided it receives the affirmative vote of at least 2/3 members of council or otherwise to take effect and be enforced at the earliest period allowed by law, authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into equipment leases in forms approved by the Director of Law on behalf of the City of Lakewood.
So first, move to substitute. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. That is in your, well, it's up on the screen now, but it's also in Granicus. Any discussion? Hearing none. Need to roll call for substitute. Yeah, let's, why not? While we're dotting i's and crossing t's, let's do it.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Marks? Rader? Schachner? Strebig?
Yes.
And we're going to move to suspend the rules and adopt on first reading. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Do that again?
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Marks? Rader?
Yes.
Schachner? Strebig?
Yes.
All right, and motion passes. We need to do another
Then
second.
move to
Yeah, now we need, okay. And then finally, we'll move to adopt. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes,
Marks? Rader? Schachner? Strebig?
and that motion passes.
Item 11, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding the 2024 Community Recycling Awareness Grant.
Director Gordon.
Thank you. Dear President Keppel and members of City Council, the city's Division of Refuse and Recycling was awarded $6,000 from the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District's Community Recycling Awareness Grant Program. The division will use this grant to produce and distribute roughly 25,000 recycling cart stickers featuring current recycling requirements to the necessary households in the city, with the remainder being set aside for distribution throughout the year. Recycling requirements specifically what can and cannot be recycled, have changed over the years, and the Division of Refuse and Recycling is aligned with the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District in its desire to communicate this information and educate our community. The design and content of the distributed material will be approved by the Solid Waste District. We expect to spend $6,000 to cover the costs of printing, which will be reimbursed by the grant. Pursuant to LCO Section 111.14B, this letter serves as notice of our intention to accept these funds. Please let me know if you have any further questions.
Move to receive and file that communication. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Always happy to receive grant funds and especially supporting our recycling program. All right, no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 12, liquor notice, Aqua Bar Lakewood LLC at 13324 Madison Avenue.
And Chief, I think, are we in receipt of this?
Unfortunately, not yet, Council President Keppel. The neighborhood officer assigned has been trying without success to get a hold of the owners. So if it would, if we could we push it to next time?
Sure.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Move to defer. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right, and I think we actually are in record time. We are at public comment. All right, we have Paul Ross signed in to speak. And just like I told the other gentleman, it's already on green, so just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Paul Ross, 2204 Lakeland. Excuse me. So regarding the sidewalk program, so I just got a bill for $458. I know this is common, but I had this one piece of my sidewalk marked over 2 years ago. I called the city, they sent someone out from the building department, they looked at it, said, this is fine, it's not, slanted, it's not cracked, nothing. We're not gonna do anything with it. Fast forward a year later, they marked it again. I thought it was a mistake, and then they went ahead and replaced it. I was out of town. They called me and they said, you can agree to this and you get the discounted rate, and if you don't agree to it, we're still doing it anyways. But I took pictures before it was done. Like I said, it's not cracked. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I know they said if it's a 1/4 of an inch off, then they sand them down, which they've done. You've probably all seen on 100 times on your streets. That was not an option, and it wasn't even a 1/4 of an inch. So I don't know. I didn't know where else to turn with this. So I don't know if anything could be done.
So usually with public comment, we don't end up getting into back and forth and questions, but I don't know if Director Gordon, do you want to make any comment? You don't have to.
Sure, I can meet and speak with you about it, but to my knowledge, in the records that I have, the sidewalk inspector did speak with you about this, to my knowledge, in June of 2023? Okay.
He spoke with me, as I said, I was out of town. He told me that this is being done. So, I mean, my hands are tied. Agree to these terms, and you'll get a discounted rate. If you don't agree to it, we're still doing it anyways, and you're going to get charged more. I mean, what am I going to say,
Sure, I can speak with you about it, at least on the records that we have in Public Works and the process we went through.
Okay, great. After we're done?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could just add to, the timeline brought up by the gentleman is kind of the exact reason why we are making changes to how we administer the sidewalk program, is because people are receiving letters and then years later, the work is actually being performed. So not only does it cause confusion for our residents, but it also extends the process and causes an extreme administrative burden. So, sir, we will certainly take your name down, look into that exact situation. But you've brought up also a bigger issue, is that we definitely need to improve the sidewalk program so that the work is done timely with when the notice is provided to our residents.
Thank you. All right, so that is everyone we have signed in for public comment. I know, right? Good to see you again, though. All right, and I'll turn it over to announcements. I just have one, which is a big one, which is that tomorrow is an election day. So I want to remind everyone to please make sure you get out and vote tomorrow, Tuesday, March 19th. The polls open at 6:30 a.m. and are open until 7:30 p.m. Further announcements from colleagues? No? Announcements from the administration? Nope. All right. All right, so with no further business, I will move to adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned.